Hello friends, and welcome back to some V Rising. I wanted to go through the latest patch that came out, patch 0.541821, because it does have some pretty important changes and fixes in it. And one thing I noticed actually is that even if you did not update your server, clients that had updated were able to connect, which was actually pretty cool and quite rare because normally you have to have the exact same version on client and servers. There are some games like Ark that does allow some differences in there, at least for minor versions. But let's have a look here. There were some server optimizations for servers with long uptimes and a lot of players. I think they were doing some garbage cleanup and everything so that the RAM wouldn't just keep on growing. They were optimizing the map and minimap on servers with a lot of castles, because this was an issue where you would check the map, and if you're on a server which had tons of castles, it would just clutter everything up and be really difficult. They added a confine cursor to window settings, and this was really needed, but it will confine the mouse cursor to the window when in minimize/full screen window mode. So what was happening was that you see I'm out here on the right side and my cursor is not going out even though I have actually another monitor on my right side. That was a problem before, where if I untick this, you see it vanishes because I'm actually shifting it out into my other monitor. And this was a big problem when you were playing with multiple monitors, because you'd be going around, all of a sudden you'd be out of this window and then you wouldn't be moving around your character and you couldn't find the cursor because it was on a different monitor. Thank you for fixing that, Stunlock. They also updated the social panel, now displays all the players connected and their Steam ID. I don't think, the Steam name, not necessarily their ID. And this was actually really helpful. And you can't use it as an in-game radar anymore, but basically means that if you click here on this, it will tell you which players are online. As an admin, you can always do, go into admin auth, and then you could do a list users to actually get a list of the users, but normal players couldn't do that, and it was really inconvenient anyway. Now you can just go and check to say, hey, okay, who's online, because this is data that's actually available outside. There are some third-party websites out there that actually can pull who is actually online on a specific server. So it was really weird that you weren't able to tell that in-game as a player. Thank you for adding that. The blood essence drain modifier setting should now work properly, and that's great, because I was having that issue previously where I'm playing on a PvE server. It's my community supporter PvE server. I wanted to allow people to have their castles with a lot of power and fortification time without having to come on every 1 week or 10 days something just to top everything up, especially if you have like 2 castles or something. That was a little bit too painful. So now this settings works much better, where you can actually change that up so that it doesn't drain at the regular speed. So in this case I have it down to something like 0.1, which means that I have almost 2 months of power without the castle actually decaying. Of course, you wouldn't want to have that on a server that you're doing PvP, or you're having maybe a lot of players, because if you're having hundreds of players, you don't want to have castles around that are with players who aren't playing for months. But on a PvE server where you're having it just with your friends, you might want to consider just changing that so it doesn't decay as easily. There was a bug that they fixed where some lootable containers were stuck looted and never to respawn, so that was being changed. Castle hearts now count as any floor type and can be incorporated in specialized rooms to still grant floor bonuses to station structures within the room. What was happening previously is that, let's say you had your library and you wanted to have your castle heart inside. Having the castle heart would actually break that being a library, which means that the library, like the study, etc., would not give the special benefit of having a library flooring and everything, because there was something that was not library floor in there, being the castle heart. So they have actually fixed that. And this is a good change, because it means that now you have a lot more freedom of where to put the castle heart. They've also fixed the bug that caused some icons and minimize to disappear. Good. Of course, that shouldn't be happening. Servants, a little bit easier to summon them, even if they're locked outside of their castle. Not if they're in combat, though. They fixed an issue where some servants wouldn't become available after completing a hunt. I never had that happen, fortunately. But if you did, of course, that's a little bit annoying that they go on a hunt and then you can never get them back. And an issue where servants would be able to open doors of an enemy castle. Well, this was This is bad on a PvP server, especially because let's say you put a castle pretty close to someone else's castle and your servants go out and basically open his doors, which they shouldn't be able to do, obviously. So really good, some really cool changes in here. I still think they need some additional. One thing that you might want to keep an eye on that I realized when I was having problems with my server is that I was increasing the border size of the max level castle and the server would crash. It was having some memory allocation problems that was causing it to crash. So there are some issues in there. If you're bumping this up, I tried a 300 and that basically caused the server to crash and never start up. I dropped it down to 250 as per before and everything was working fine. So there are some settings that still don't work probably the way they should be, or are having some issues with, I guess, the sizings of them. So if you push them too much, the game will crash and won't work properly. But thank you, Stunlike, for releasing this patch, and I hope you keep developing it. And we definitely need more content in, a month or two at the most, because I see even on my server, and I see other streamers and other people playing, is that, they're already at endgame. But it's a really good game, and I'm enjoying it. If you're looking for a dedicated server, I do have a guide of how to set that up. If you're looking for hosted server solution, I also have that with Ping Perfect, and I will leave the links in the description, and coming with a discount code as well for 10% monthly recurring off. So go enjoy yourself, enjoy the game.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the vetted community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.